Good evening and welcome, everyone. It's Scott Hamilton from Rockfile Radio here with, I'm not going to give you an introduction because everybody knows who you are. Billy Sheehan, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks very much for having me on your show.
Oh, like I said earlier, it's been a busy couple weeks for me interview-wise, but I'm truly humbled. I've been a fan since the 80s. Thank you for all the music.
Oh, thank you for listening. Without you, I'm nothing. In fact, everything I have under the sun, moon, and stars that I own, my house, my car, everything, it all comes from somebody buying a CD, a T-shirt, or a ticket, and I never forget that.
Awesome. Well, you have quite the career to look back on, but let's talk about Winery Dogs to start off with. You guys put this together as kind of what was the idea behind you guys just kind of jamming, or did you want to do a project together?
Yeah, just not much of an idea at all, just to have a band, and not so much a project, but an actual band.
Right, because you've played a lot of projects where you've been a session man or a tour guy, or...
Yeah, just a thing that we knew was a one-off, or we're just going to do one thing, and if it kind of worked, we'd stick with it. If it didn't, we wouldn't. Where this here we wanted to do, because as a fan, myself personally, when I get into a band, it's kind of an emotional investment. And I get into it. I get into the people that are into it. I get into the songs. I get into the album cover. I get into all kinds of stuff from the early days and up till now. I'm a huge fan. My iTunes is 200 and almost 300,000 songs.
That's even more than me.
1.5 terabytes of music.
Mm-hmm.
All finely tuned, too, because I really am a fan of a lot of different stuff. Mm-hmm. So, because, as a fan, when I invest in something emotionally, I don't want it to just be some little one-off thing. So I think all of us thought that, to really give this project or this idea or this music that we do a foundation, we should commit to it, and not just say, well, if it's successful, we'll stick to it. If it ain't, we'll run away and find something else, to go through hell or high water. So we've had launching a new band is not easy.
No.
Not easy at all. So, but we've stuck it out and stuck to it and weathered the storm and gotten through a lot of difficulties. And I think the reason is because we got a record that we love and that other people have responded to very positively, which I'm very, very thankful for. All of us are. And so we're looking at the long run, not a little short little hop, but a long, long journey here.
Is that why it's not a Sheehan, Portnoy, Kotzen? It's a name.
Exactly.
Why Winery Dogs?
I don't know. It's hard to find. Good question. It's hard to find a band name.
True.
Actually, it's so difficult to find a name. That's why you say oddball names now. You really don't know what it means.
You, Me at Six is one that's got me really confused these days. And they're huge, but You, Me at Six.
Wow, that's pretty good. And I don't know what a Lacuna Coil is either, but I love that name. It's very cool. So a friend of Richie's suggested the Winery Dogs. And so instantly, of course, the first thing you do when you get a band name is you got to Google it to see if anyone else has it. And I did, and nobody did, so I thought. But there are Winery Dogs.
Are there?
There is such a thing. And they're the dogs they keep on the wine estates to keep, make sure nobody burglars come in or anybody fools around with the grapes or the machinery or whatever. And they refer to them as Winery Dogs. There's a couple of websites about them, as a matter of fact. Pictures.
I'm definitely going to have to Google that.
Yeah, that's true. So, well, fortunately, our site gets more hits than them now.
Yes, very much.
So people have established that. So we stopped them, but we liked it because it kind of, it is a little bit, it doesn't necessarily paint us into a corner. A lot of people have given us their impression of what the name feels to them. And it's funny how a lot of times the band usually brings meaning to the name as opposed to
the other way around.
So a lot of people said, yeah, it's like, sophisticated winery, but you're dogs, so you're like kind of the unsophisticates and the sophisticated, so that made sense. Somebody else had a completely different explanation. And I said, well, take the ball and run with it. However you think it to be, it is such.
So you had a birthday recently, big celebration. Were you on the road?
No, I was home and did almost nothing. We just hung out and had a dinner together.
Isn't that what we like to do at birthdays as we get older?
Yeah, well, it used to be. I would have be out and about at a club, and a lot of people would show up. There'd be a lot of hooting and hollering, but I enjoy celebrating all kinds of holidays. but we just brought it in quietly, had a wonderful time. That's cool.
Awesome. Now, we'll get back to Winery Dogs, but over the last few years, you reformed with some old bands. Like you got back together with the Talus guys. Was that like a high school reunion?
Actually, we did it the first time in 97, because the radio station in Buffalo, New York is 97 Rock. So they wanted to do a big thing for 1997. And I hadn't even spoken to the guys in Talus in 15 years. And so we got together. We had a riot, telling stories of the old days.
Right.
Did a show. Place was completely sold out. They were scalping tickets to get in. It was just great. We did it again the following year, and then we left it alone. Then again, I think it was last summer or the summer before, we did a show outside Niagara Falls, New York, which is next to Buffalo, for the Hard Rock Cafe. There's 14,000 people. It was out of control. So we'll probably do a couple more as the years go by, as everyone's health holds out. That's good. I'm in good shape. The other guys are pretty good shape.
And now that's a fairly local, regional thing. Is it nice to have that? All these years later.
Yeah, because it's basically a reunion for everybody to get together and see everybody we used to hang out with back in the 70s and early 80s. And that's kind of I like that aspect of it, too. I would almost rather, just play a couple songs and get off the stage and go in the crowd and hang out. Because there's so many people I haven't seen, but we got to do our duty and play the show, too. So.
Well, and you also reformed here in the 21st century with Niacin. That had to be fun.
Yeah, Niacin just got put on hold because Dennis worked with Santana as drumming for Santana. And his schedule was just crazy, so we could barely ever get him. So he quit, and then he was free. So he said, "Hey, let's do it." And I'm glad he did. He had a wonderful run with Santana, but now he's free to do a lot of other things that he was more famous for, rather than forming into the mold of a group that's already there. Dennis is such a superstar drummer to me, the greatest musician I know. I'm glad now that he's free to just be Dennis Chambers
and do what he does.
And do that amazing thing that he does. Yeah, very cool.
Now, I read an interview with you the other day. One of the things that you love about the Winery Dogs, even though these songs are tightly written, almost pop rock songs, if you will, they're just good, well-written songs, you have left room to improvise. And that is what is that what gets you up on stage every night, that little bit of freedom there?
Yeah, absolutely. That helps a lot. However, I've been in some situations where I had to play exactly the song, exactly the same way, exactly every time. And that's a different discipline than what I do. So doing that is good because I don't do that. And it's a challenge to me. So I enjoy doing things that are a challenge to me. But then when you're improvising, the challenge is don't think, don't plan, just go and fly and hope that you get off the ground and get into the clouds. And it's precarious. It isn't guaranteed that you will always land on the right note. But I like that. That is another kind of a challenge, and I like that challenge a lot. And Mike and I got a ESP thing going on with Richie too. We're all very well connected on stage, where one guy turns left and the other guy happens to turn left at the exact same time. So we exactly do the exact same thing, and it's an odd phenomenon. I like
schools of fish.
Exactly.
You just
schools or herds of winery dogs. Who knows? But I'd like to have some scientists maybe look into that someday as to what the cause of that might be. But it's pretty spooky sometimes. Literally, Mike and I will look at each other quickly, like, "Oh, I had no idea you were going to do that." And he's like, "I had no idea you were going to do that." So that's a lot of fun throwing that stuff in there. But the challenge of improvising is a big draw to me. And most every band I'm in, there are varying degrees of that. Mr. Big is a little tighter in arrangements and stuff. But when I play with them, there is still room to move. Not as much as with the Winery Dogs. Winery Dogs is a way more jammy band than anything I play in, other than maybe Niacin. But Niacin is more of a fusion-y thing, so it's not quite. This is rock, and I've always been a rock guy.
And I really like the last Mr. Big record. You going to do any more?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're working on it. When I get home in June, I'll be doing bass parts for a new Mr. Big record. Will be out. It's going to be a short tour, though. I'm not even sure if there's USA dates because a lot of the guys are just, they're busy with their lives now and they don't have enough time to tour. That's another reason we're so happy about the Winery Dogs, is because in the Winery Dogs is Mike Portnoy, who will tour nonstop every minute of the day from here to eternity, which I like because I can do that. Once I'm out and playing, that's my life, and my hands are in shape, and I'm doing my music. And
well, I was looking at all those tour dates on the back of the shirt. Good God.
Yeah, that's good. I could do that. I could do 10 times that, no problem, and everywhere. Especially we've got a great bus and a great crew and great sound guy and a nice bunch of people to travel with. And Mike Ritchie and I, we enjoy hanging with each other. That's a very important point. I put bands together where I didn't investigate the hang first, and then later on found out that there was not a good hang. It's always a terrible thing. But in this case, it's been wonderful.
Band chemistry is a weird thing. Yeah, you can put 10 great musicians in a room, and none of them may get along.
Yeah, it's true. That's why on paper, some things look really good. Let's take these, the greatest of this, and these the greatest of that. Yeah, let's put them together, and they almost never work because it was put together on paper, and that's why
organically.
Yeah, and that's why I was going to work with Mike why I didn't think of Richie Costin, I have no idea why I blanked out on it. Eddie Trunk mentioned him. I said, of course, Richie can sing and play his ass off, and it's great. So we got together, and we really did almost no planning at all. No manager, no producer, nobody in there telling us their vision.
Yeah, that had to feel good.
It was great. So we even did the record with no producer. We just did, this is what we do, and this is how we do it. This is what we wrote. No one came in and said, this chorus here, it's got to be twice as long at the end. And we've all done enough records to know how to put a song together, how to put a record together. We did hire a guy outside of us to mix it, because that isn't our forte. A guy named Jay Rustin, who's done a lot of great records recently, did a fantastic job on it.
What a sound. The album has a real sound.
Yeah, it's really great. He did a wonderful job. And even he admits to me, he didn't do a lot. He sweetened up things as necessary, but that's a sign of a good mixer. When it's sounding right, don't change it. Don't think you have to change. But we'd use him again in a minute. He's just wonderful. So, again, we put the band together in that kind of organic fashion that really didn't require business acumen or marketing expertise or any of those nasty words.
So, when you got started playing the bass, did you set out to redefine how the bass was considered as an instrument, how kids play when they pick it up?
No, I just wanted to meet girls. And that's pretty much true. I mean, every musician from my generation saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, saw the girls screaming and went, I want to
do that.
That's what I want to do. And that is pretty much how a lot of us started. But then later on, and I was always a music lover, and my mom was a big music lover in our home. And we had music often. She was a Sinatra fan. And I got into classical music, and I got deep, deep, deep into music that had nothing to do with attracting girls at all.
Right.
So a lot of the earliest progressive, Genesis, King Crimson, stuff like that, PFM, bands like that. Huge Hendrix fan. Hendrix was my first concert I ever went to. Got heavily into a real lot of classical music. Not just the typical Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, but Ravel, Mussorgsky, Dvorak.
The more interesting, more powerful things.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't normally gravitate towards as a rock player, and so that was a really a cool thing. We're good, so that was as I matured, I found out. Well, there still were girls, so that was
That's
good.
a good thing.
We didn't lose that part of it, and so, but it's as goofy as it sounds, that being a motivation isn't necessarily a bad thing. Anything that gets you there as a motivation, as long as you arrive there, it was probably a good motivation. So I have my great honor and respect for the women of the world for inspiring me
to get there,
and launch it. And then once it was launched, I was able to get on my own legs and have a true musical inspiration. And that was pretty much how it started. And then as far as bass goes, I just wanted to play.
Did you have anybody go, bass is not supposed to play lead here. You're not supposed to stand out here. Did that happen in the beginning?
No, because in my day,
jaws were on the floor.
No, I was, I was still figuring it out. I had no natural talent at all. I just have to work. I work really hard, and I never picked it up and automatically had it. I just had work, and I do now. I'll be on the bus for 2 hours after this, warming up my bass and learning some new stuff. But when I first heard McCartney, he's all over the place on bass. Jamie Jamerson from the Motown stuff, all over the place on bass. Tim Bogert, all over the place. Jack Cassidy, all over the place. Jack Bruce, all over the place. Entwistle, all these guys. Yeah. They were lead bass players, but no one noticed because they were playing ensemble.
Yeah.
They were playing with the drums, with the guitar, with the vocals, within the arrangement of the song. Later on, late 70s into the 80s, it became this thing where the guitar player would say, you hold an E note while I solo, which to me, no offense to guitar players, indicates an inadequacy on the guitar player's part, because you should be able to solo while the bass player moves that root note around. It shouldn't throw you, but a lot of them couldn't, so there was just kind of this, you hold a note while I solo. So a lot of bass players started holding a single note or just sticking with just the root, which was unlike a lot of bass, and unlike the bass tradition that we had for decades prior to that. So then when bass players, again, started to move up and play a little bit more, everybody was in shock because they weren't holding the E note while the guitar player soloed. So they started to stamp this term lead bass on them. Where in fact, for me, I never looked at it as much as lead bass as just bass.
Another voice, another instrument.
I remember seeing a great video clip of a band from the 30s. Clarinet, piano, bass, trumpet, trombone, guitar player. Everybody solos, except for the guitar player. The guitar player did not solo because
in my jazz band, I was trumpet. Yeah, we soloed, but the guitar player didn't.
You couldn't hear the guitar, so he didn't solo. You could hear the bass and the drums. So it's a funny thing. And People get into the argument of it, if you will. But I just, sometimes you need to play a single note. Sometimes you need to play more than one. And knowing that there is no definition that you must conform to really, truly makes it art. And some bass players, like AC/DC bass player, love that guy. Plays one note, and the whole band. Without him, the whole band would fall to dust.
True, very true.
It's just awesome too. So I've never been prejudiced that you have to play any one kind of way or another. All music is good music, and it is the greatest art form, no matter how you approach it.
I totally agree. And it's what you don't play sometimes. What makes it musical.
And it's odd, as a weird psychology happens with that. When I'm playing, and I can't hear myself too well, and I'm not sure if I tend to play more, and I tend to overplay. When I can hear everything perfectly, and I hear the vocals and the drums, I pull way back
because you're just part of it.
Yeah, and so it's like now I know somebody can hear it, so I don't need to. It's an odd, almost a reverse psychology thing the way it works.
Now you've been in instrumental bands and projects. Everybody's singing in this one. How does that feel?
Great. My most successful and famous and enjoyable bands involve singing. Tallis back in Buffalo, we sang Three Dog Night, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Grand Funk Railroad, you name it, with harmonies. We did it, all the Beatles, all kinds of stuff. Mr. Big, heavy singing harmony band. We did Les tour. We did a remake of Three Dog Night, It's For You, with these stacked vocal harmonies. And we also did Carry On by Crosby, Stills and Nash, a heavy singing song.
Nice harmony there.
And so in this, three guys, three voices, it really works out well. I love to please the audience. Not pander to the audience, but to please the audience. When the audience is pleased, I'm happy. A lot of guys have I do my art, and if the audience liked it, fine. And if they don't, the heck with them. I'm not like that at all. I really care about them. And singing really brings a lot of people in. And I think sometimes, I don't even do it consciously, but I really would like to enlighten and uplift people, not only emotionally, but also musically. So once you draw someone into a room with a band playing, with singing, in between that singing, there's all kinds of things going on that they're going to pay attention to more now than they would have if there wasn't singing. So I think singing does draw people in and opens them up. And I think, therefore, I know as a music fan, I became more and more educated with the music I listened to and got into sometimes more complex music, sometimes more emotional music. But each time I was drawn in by something and then captured by something else. Joni Mitchell's Emotion, unbelievable. But then you hear some of the arrangements and music and melody lines she does, they're incredible. And then you look into who she was into that got that. Same thing with Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Oh, yeah.
I started doing Mussorgsky. So, of course, I had to go find Mussorgsky. Blew my mind to find the original versions of Pictures at an Exhibition.
Right.
And then to hear Tomita do it on synthesis in the 70s was just by opening the door, by something drawing me in, it expanded my fanness tremendously. So therefore, I think singing does the same thing. It does bring people in, and we played in Brazil. I think our record had been out for 2 days with the Winery Dogs. The whole place sang every word of every song so loud you couldn't even hear the band.
2 days.
Yeah. And it was an amazing phenomenon.
You're getting chills just thinking about it.
Chills. I'm getting chills.
Well, is that what Elevate is about, the song? I know you guys open with that, or sometimes open with that. And
yeah, it's an opening. That's kind of Showbiz 101. Open with the song that opens the record. I'm going to learn that from the master himself, David Lee Roth. That's always a good thing to do. Yeah, it's just kind of the idea that let's move it up a notch. Let's instead of digging down into the dirt, let's rise up a little bit. The world as it is now, I don't see things really always moving up. In some sectors, maybe, but not always. And to be a little bit uplifting, because we got a couple songs that have some hopeful lyrics. We are one, not hopeless. Elevate, and I think it's kind of a cool thing.
And I'm No Angel becomes a big sing-along, I understand.
Yeah. We just did a video for it, and that song is a big crowd favorite. We go into it, this crowd, so you hear a big surge in the crowd when the chorus start. And I instantly loved that song the moment I heard it. Just a rough demo of kind of how it went, and we put it together, went home, and I played it for all my friends all the time. It was really cool.
I just watched those acoustic little bits you did on the other coast, and how was that, playing in a TV studio, the scale down? I don't think I've ever seen Portnoy sit down so long.
That's true. It's a lot of fun, but it's challenging because it's all quiet in there. I was playing the thing in the snow.
And it never sounds good, but you guys sounded great.
Really? I haven't heard it. I was afraid to listen, so now I'll listen.
TV mixes are usually horrible, but that one was amazing. But that's probably the musicians.
That's what's happening.
Welcome to South Florida.
I know. That's why I love L.A. We have almost no bugs.
And no humidity.
Exactly so. But it's very nice here. But what were we talking about before we interrupted ourselves? I forgot.
Oh, we were talking about Winery Dogs, Elevate. I was going to get to... After all these projects, after all these albums, all these tours, why do you still get up there? Is it really the fans that drive it?
I love music more than I ever have. I play bass now more than I ever did. I'm as enthused or even more enthused about it than when I was 16. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know where. I don't know why. But I'm at a point in my age now where this is all I got, and it's plenty.
It's plenty.
I love this. I love that I can play. For me, what an opportunity to get up on stage with, I'll move over here maybe if less mosquitoes.
Well, yeah.
I think over in that little drawing. And play, and there's people there. That's what a great honor. That's incredible. And every day I sit down with my bass and I find some new thing that I never knew before, and I've been playing for 40 years.
Unbelievable.
Sit down and go, wait, what if oh yeah, that's a whole other, and so even the last about 2 or 3 years I come out like there's maybe 3 or 4 completely different ways of playing the bass. When I first started them, it wasn't working, but in theory it was going to, and I stuck with it and hit it and hit it and hit it. Now I actually have about 3 or 4 completely new approaches for me. I know someone else probably has done it. It's a big world out there. But 3 completely new approaches for me. So it's kind of interesting that after so many years, there's still so much more to learn. I mean, I haven't even begun yet, and there he is right on you. I got him.
Thank you. Nice. Okay, all of these things, what is your biggest professional accomplishment? Was it an album that went gold? Was it a giant stadium show? Biggest professional, most impressive?
Well, number 1 single with Mr. Big was pretty amazing. Once you get into the top 40, you're in shark-infested waters. Totally. Top 20, the sharks get bigger and faster. Top 10, they develop
beyond
H.R. Giger, alien monsters.
And they have laser beams on their heads.
Exactly. And so we actually were in line to be number 1, and there was a Right Said Fred and Prince and Michael Jackson all had singles ready to go into the number 1. So sure enough, we got the call that we popped into number 1. So we beat Prince and Michael Jackson out of a number 1 spot. So I was having my friends start my car for me in case it would blow up.
Oh, nice.
But so that was pretty amazing. And then we were on, because of that opened up doors to us that I had never been through. We were on The Tonight Show, and the second time on, Jay had us on the couch, and I sat in chair number 1 on The Tonight Show, which was pretty awesome. And my mom finally realized that
You'd made it.
She saw that. It was pretty funny. And we played, it was number 1 in 14 countries. We played all over the world with that. And even now, I go anywhere in the world. Remember a band called Mr. Big? No, I'm the one who. Oh my God! You can't believe it. They recognize it, and it was a great thing. So that was a huge accomplishment, and that I'm very pleased of. But it happened with a team of about 100 people behind that, actually making it happen. So it's not one band alone that made that work, but we're very thankful.
Is there something, some piece of art, a piece of music, a movie, a book, a TV show you've watched lately, something that got under you that you really got into? Personally.
Yeah, I liked Not Cool by, I think his last name is Gutfeld. He's on the cable news guy. He had a book called Not Cool, how the pursuit of cool and coolness, which is really nothing, has ruined everything. Because there's really there
really is no cool.
Exactly. So you're doing something with no foundation just because it happens to be cool. And that real accomplishment and real work, especially the people that listen to your show are probably more music-oriented, understand that it takes some work that's doing. It's not, you don't just win the lottery. Right. And it was an interesting, very interesting book, a very funny book, too. But I read a lot. I'm reading a Tesla biography right now.
Got to be interesting, yeah.
The man, not the band. And I've read about 8 books on North Korea recently. Amazing that what's going on there in this day and age. That
we don't hear anything about over here.
The world allows another Holocaust. It's a horrifying thing. Terrible. But, and I read uplifting books, too.
I was going to say, hope it's not all current events.
No, all kinds of stuff. But, yeah, I do read a lot. And I'm not so much a TV guy. I know Mike Portnoy knows every TV show and every character on it and every plot twist of all the new golden age of television that we have now. Not my thing necessarily.
I wait for streaming, Netflix or Blu-ray or something. Yeah. I don't have time to watch it.
Yeah. But
that way I know it's good when I sit down to Breaking Bad. I know it's been killer, you know.
Already passed the test
right.
of commercial success. Yeah, and my idea of a Friday or Saturday night, maybe a couple friends over, maybe just even by myself, pop a bottle of red, sit down with my iTunes and start going through the folders and finding the most amazing stuff. And that's a riot.
Something you haven't listened to in a while.
Yeah. Like I've got a huge collection of lounge music from the 60s, which is hilarious. And I also, one of the specializations of my collection is I have some of the worst music ever created by humans you could possibly imagine.
And why are you saving this?
Well, it's just interesting to hear. I've got some of the greatest music, and I want to see the dichotomy. I want to see the you know.
You have to know how low you can go to see how high.
Minus here, exactly. So I've got some Johnny Bowtie Barstow singing Christmas carols, just horrifying. And it's just amazing to me. Somebody who's in a control room going, "Okay, that's a take." After
good job. We'll keep that one.
It's pretty amazing. So I Mrs. Miller, another one. There's a Chinese singer named Wing, doing a tribute to the Carpenters that will blow your mind.
Tell me it's on YouTube. No,
it probably is. Yeah, YouTube has everything pretty much. But that's an entertaining evening for me. I can sit around with my iTunes, and I have the drive with me too. It's 1.5 terabytes, and so I can open it once in a while. We've got a long bus ride. I'm the DJ.
We'll see if you guys know this one.
Yeah. And it brings about much pleasure and agony to the listeners.
That's got to be an interesting bus ride with you as the DJ. Wake up, boys. So what's next for the Winery Dogs? I see the tour dates continue into the fall. Is there planning sessions to get in a studio next year for a new album or something?
We don't plan, but we know we will. I'm sure it's there. As a matter of fact, I'm ready to go. We could probably go in tomorrow and start having stuff by the end of the day, and it's really that fast.
You're writing on the road, or it just comes naturally?
No, once in a while we'll do a lick and grab the iPhone and make sure and record it. You know, I do that with my bass too. As I'm sitting around with my bass, I have my iTunes out. I prop it up, put it on video, click it, and explain to the phone, okay,
what you're doing.
Here's the thing, and then the right finger normally goes to that. Well, now try it, and explain. That's I got about 300.
Musicians, write this down. You want to do this at home.
Great. Otherwise, I'll forget it. But we're pretty prolific writers when we get into a room together. We can whip stuff up pretty easily. And Richie's such a natural singer. All he has to do is sing blah blah lyrics, and we got a song there. Just flesh out the lyrics later. So that's very nice. And I think it's a result of just doing it for so long and so many records, all of us, that it's making a record becomes a pretty natural process. Like doing a gig, walking up for me, pretty easy. Yeah, okay, let's go. Step up on the stage. Where's the drummer? Where's the guitar player? What key are we in? Here we go. No problem. So, just because I've done it for so long. And similarly, making a record and writing songs, it becomes it's a skill that's achieved, and we write, generally for me, I write a lot of songs for any single project. And then in the end, we use some of them, usually about 10%, 20% of what I wrote, we end up using. So there's a lot of, I saw another one.
Get him.
A lot of writing goes on. So it's easy for us to put together a record.
Well, I won't keep you much longer, but thank you for spending the time, and long live the Winery Dogs, really.
Thank you very much, Scott, and I'm glad you're doing this on radio and spreading the word. We appreciate it very much, and if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm Billy at BillySheehan.com. It's easy to find me. Write to me on my website. I'm on Facebook. I don't answer Facebook mail as much, though, because it's harder for me, but if you just email me, I'm easy to find.
There you go, kids.
Right on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.